The stars looked different from Earth now that humanity knew they weren't alone. Ambassador Olivia Reese stood at the window of the orbital diplomatic station, watching the massive Nalaxian vessel eclipse the moon. 6 months had passed since first contact, and still, something felt wrong about these supposed benefactors of humanity. The Nalaxians had arrived with promises of technological advancement and galactic integration. Their crystalline ships had appeared simultaneously over every major city, a display of power masked as a peaceful greeting. Ambassador Reese had been chosen to lead Earth's diplomatic efforts, her background in xenopsychology supposedly making her the perfect candidate to understand these beings that looked almost human, save for their iridescent skin and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Ambassador, the Nalaxian High Executor requests your presence, Lieutenant Thomas Parker announced from behind her. His military bearing couldn't hide his unease. They say they've discovered something concerning about Earth's development programs. Olivia turned, her dark hair catching the starlight. What kind of something, Lieutenant? They wouldn't say, but he hesitated. Your brother Marcus was asking about visiting the station again. I told him it wasn't possible, but he seemed determined. 15-year-old Marcus, brilliant and stubborn, had been fascinated by the aliens since their arrival. Olivia had already caught him twice trying to sneak into diplomatic events. Thank you, Lieutenant. I'll speak with him later. The meeting chamber aboard the Nalaxian vessel gleamed with bioorganic technology. High Executor Valen waited with 2 guards, his iridescent skin shifting colors and patterns that Olivia had learned indicated agitation. Ambassador Reese, Valen's voice resonated with artificial warmth. We have concerns about Earth's recent activities. What activities would those be, Executor? A holographic display materialized showing various Earth locations. Your species continues weapons development despite our offers of protection. This suggests distrust. We maintain defensive capabilities, as is our right, Olivia replied carefully. The treaty doesn't prohibit. There's something else. Valen interrupted. The hologram shifted, showing security footage. Olivia's heart stopped. There was Marcus sneaking through a maintenance shaft in the diplomatic station. We found him accessing restricted areas, Valen said, attempting to steal technological data. He's just a curious boy, Olivia's diplomatic mask cracked slightly. Where is he? Curiosity must be properly directed. Valen's skin darkened. The boy will serve as an example of proper respect for authority. The chamber doors opened. 2 guards dragged Marcus in, his face bruised but defiant. Liv, they're not what they seem, he shouted. I found proof. They're planning to. Silence, Valen commanded. Your species must learn its place in the bowl. Greater order. We have broadcast this moment to every screen on Earth. Olivia's blood ran cold. What are you doing? Teaching humanity its first lesson in obedience. Valen raised his hand. The penalty for espionage is death. No, Olivia lunged forward, but the guards held her back. Marcus stood straight, his young face set with determination. Live, he said clearly, his voice carrying to the billions watching on Earth. Don't let them win. Show them what humanity really is. The energy beam struck him before Olivia could scream. Her brother's body crumpled to the floor as Valen turned to her. Now, Ambassador, shall we discuss Earth's proper integration into our empire? Olivia stared at her brother's body, something breaking and reforming inside her. When she looked up, her eyes held a cold fury that made even Valen step back. No, Executor, she said quietly. Now we show you why that was the biggest mistake your species will ever make. Across Earth, the silence that followed Marcus's execution lasted exactly 3 minutes. Then the rage began. Military installations worldwide went to high alert. Political leaders who had advocated for cooperation were ousted within hours. And in underground facilities that the Nalaxians knew nothing about, weapons that humanity had been developing in secret were armed. The Nalaxians had wanted to teach humanity a lesson about obedience. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous. A species that would now stop at nothing to show the galaxy exactly what happened when you harmed one of their own. Lieutenant Parker found Olivia in her quarters hours later, composing a message to Earth's Unified Defense Council. "Ambassador," he said softly, "the Council is asking for your recommendations." Olivia didn't look up from her work. "Tell them to implement Protocol Omega, and Thomas?" She finally turned, her eyes holding no trace of tears, only purpose. "Tell them I want to be there when we show the Nalaxians exactly what humanity is capable of." As her message was transmitted to Earth, millions of citizens were already volunteering for military service. Scientists were sharing previously classified research. And in orbit, human ships that had been hidden in asteroid bases began moving into position. The galaxy had watched a child die. Now it would watch humanity's response, and the stars themselves would remember why you should never underestimate a species that protected its own. Earth's retribution begins. The Nalaxian High Command never expected the silence. They had anticipated panic, pleas for mercy, perhaps even scattered resistance. Instead, in the 48 hours following Marcus Reese's execution, Earth went quiet. Global communications ceased. Orbital satellites powered down. Even the diplomatic channels fell silent. High Executive Valen paced his command chamber, his iridescent skin pulsing with unease. "Report on Earth's military installations," he demanded. "All bases appear abandoned, Executor," his subordinate replied. "Population centers show minimal activity. It's as if they've gone underground," Valen finished. His species had conquered 1,000 worlds, and never had prey behaved like this. The first strike came without warning. Deep within Earth's asteroid belt, supposedly inactive mining stations suddenly blazed to life, revealing themselves as cleverly disguised military bases. Hundreds of ships, their existence unknown even to most humans, emerged from hiding. In his underground command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Richard Torres watched the holographic display as humanity's secret fleet moved into position. Beside him, Ambassador Reese stood rigid, her face carved from stone as she watched the ships her brother had died trying to protect. "All task forces report ready," Colonel Way announced. "Operation Prometheus is go." "Remember," Torres addressed the assembled command staff, "this isn't just revenge. This is humanity showing the galaxy that we will never bow, never submit, and never forgive those who harm our children." The Nalaxian outpost on Mars never saw the attack coming. Earth's ships, incorporating reversed-engineered alien tech combined with human innovation, struck with devastating precision. The fortress that had been meant to oversee Earth's integration into the Nalaxian Empire vanished in a series of antimatter detonations. On Earth's moon, Dr. Julia Winters stood in the secret facility where she and her team had spent 6 months studying stolen Nalaxian technology. "Their shield frequencies adapt to energy weapons," she reported to the War Council. "But they never considered kinetic alternatives. They've ruled so long through technological superiority, they've forgotten the basics of physics. Humanity's weapons were crude by Nalaxian standards, railguns firing tungsten rods at relativistic speeds, clouds of smart nanites that ate through alien hull plating, and good old-fashioned nuclear weapons modified with alien tech. The Nalaxians had expected an inferior species with inferior weapons. They weren't prepared for human ingenuity fueled by rage." Ambassador Reese walked through the lunar facility, past labs where scientists worked feverishly to unlock more alien secrets. "Status on the transmission?" she asked. "Ready, ma'am," Lieutenant Parker replied. "We can broadcast to every species in the Nalaxian Empire, just like they did with—" He trailed off, not wanting to mention Marcus. "Good." Olivia faced the transmission array. "People of the galaxy, I am Ambassador Olivia Reese of Earth. You watched as the Nalaxians murdered my brother, a child, to teach us submission. Now watch what happens when humanity decides to teach a lesson of its own." The signal went out as Earth's fleet engaged the main Nalaxian battle group near Jupiter. The aliens' superior technology met human determination and adaptability. For every Earth ship lost, 3 Nalaxian vessels were destroyed. The humans fought with a cold fury that shocked their opponents, offering no quarter, accepting no surrender. In his command ship, Valen watched in growing horror as his forces were systematically decimated. How? He demanded. They were primitive. They had nothing that could threaten us. The answer came in the form of a massive barrage that broke through his shields using frequencies that should have been impossible for humans to know. As his ship's systems failed, he received one final transmission from Ambassador Reese. My brother found proof of your plans to enslave humanity. He died trying to warn us, but he gave us time. Time we used to prepare, to study your technology, to plan. You thought killing him would break us. Instead, it united us. And now, every species you've enslaved will watch as we dismantle your empire, piece by piece. The Nalaxian Empire had ruled through fear, believing that showing strength meant crushing the weak. They never understood that true strength often lies dormant until provoked. They had killed a child, thinking to teach humanity its place in the galaxy. Now, as Earth's ships advanced inexorably through their territory, as human weapons tore through their defenses, as their subject species began to rise up in rebellion, the Nalaxians learned a harsh truth. They had awakened something far more dangerous than any enemy they'd faced before, a species that would burn down the galaxy to avenge one of its own. In the war room, General Torres reviewed reports of more victories. We've secured the Jupiter sector. The Nalaxian fleet is in full retreat. Olivia nodded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. Send word to our deep space units. Begin Phase 2. She touched the locket containing Marcus's photo. We're not just fighting for revenge anymore. We're fighting to make sure no species ever dares harm another child in this galaxy again. As Earth's forces pressed their advantage, other alien civilizations watched in stunned silence. The species they had dismissed as primitive was systematically dismantling the most powerful empire in known space. And this was just the beginning of humanity's emergence onto the galactic stage, an emergence that would rewrite the very foundations of interstellar civilization. The Empire's unraveling. The Zardaxians were the first to break away. After centuries of serving as slaves in the Nalaxian Empire's mining operations, they watched Earth's military campaign with growing fascination. When human forces liberated their primary mining world, the reptilian species didn't hesitate to join the fight. Against their former masters, Admiral Rachel Montgomery stood on the bridge of the ECS Prometheus, Earth's first dreadnought-class warship, watching as Zardaxian engineers helped retrofit their plasma technology into human weapon systems. 6 months into the war, and humanity had already gained allies that the Nalaxians never expected. The Zardaxians have shared intelligence on 3 more slave worlds, Captain Michael Chen reported, his uniform bearing the newly created insignia of the Earth Defense Force. The Nalaxians kept their subject species isolated from each other. None of them knew how many others were enslaved. And now they're all watching us tear the Empire apart, Rachel replied, studying the tactical display where red indicators showed Nalaxian territory shrinking by the day. Any word from the research division? Dr. Winter says the breakthrough is ready for demonstration. The research facility on Titan had expanded dramatically since the war began. Dr. Julia Winters led a team of human and alien scientists, all focused on one goal: dismantling Nalaxian technological advantages. Today they were about to unveil their most ambitious project yet. We call it the Nullifier, Julia explained to the assembled military leadership. Behind her, a device the size of a small car hummed with otherworldly energy. It doesn't just disable their shields, it turns their own defense systems against them. Every time they try to power up their shields, it creates a feedback loop that tears their ships apart from the inside. Ambassador Reese, who now served as Earth's Director of Interspecies Relations, studied the device. The Nalaxians won't expect this. They still think we're just using brute force and stolen technology. That's their weakness, Julia smiled, grimly. They never imagined we could innovate beyond their existing tech. They've been stagnant for so long they forgot what it means to truly advance. The first test of the Nullifier came at the Battle of Proxima Centauri, a Nalaxian battle fleet, attempting to establish a foothold near Earth's territory. found itself facing a combined force of human and Zardaxian ships. When they activated their shields, expecting an easy victory, their vessels began to tear themselves apart. The footage of the battle was broadcast across the Empire. More slave species began to rebel. The Avari, master geneticists who had been forced to serve as the Empire's medical corps, defected en masse. The crystalline Lithosians, whose planets had been stripped for resources, turned their mining equipment into weapons. In his hidden fortress on the Empire's capital world, Supreme Overlord Kraz watched his domain crumble. "How did we not see this coming?" he demanded of his advisors. "How did we miss their potential for violence?" "We thought their compassion was weakness," High Executor Valen replied, his once proud bearing now haunted. "We never considered that it might be the source of their strength. Their empathy for other species is turning our own empire against us," another advisor added. "They're not just fighting for revenge anymore. They're liberating every world. We've conquered." On Earth, the war had transformed society. Cities had moved underground or under massive shield arrays. Industries had reorganized around military production and scientific research. Children studied alien languages alongside human ones, preparing for a future where Earth would be part of a larger galactic community. But this time, on humanity's terms. General Torres reviewed the latest intelligence with his staff. The Nalaxians are pulling back to their core worlds. They're abandoning their outer territories. "And their slave species?" Olivia asked. "Rising up everywhere. The Avari have shared medical technology that's saving thousands of our wounded. The Lithosians are teaching us how to build ships using living crystal. Every species they oppressed is now becoming our ally." Lieutenant Parker, now a colonel, brought up a new report. "We've intercepted communications from their capital. There's growing dissent within their own population. Some are questioning whether their entire system of conquest was a mistake." Olivia touched the locket containing Marcus's photo. "They're learning. Too late, but they're learning." She turned to the assembled leaders. "Prepare the final phase. It's time to take this to their homeworld." In orbit around Saturn, the combined fleet of Earth and its alien allies assembled. Ships of different designs and technologies gathered under a single banner, not just for revenge now, but for liberation. The Nalaxians had built their empire on the assumption that fear was the strongest force in the galaxy. They were about to learn that hope, combined with righteous fury, was far more powerful. As the fleet prepared to jump to its final target, Admiral Montgomery sent a message to all ships. "The galaxy watched them kill a child. Now they'll watch us dismantle an empire. For Marcus. For every species they enslaved. For a future where no one has to fear the strong preying on the weak. Today, we finish what they started when they thought they could break humanity's spirit." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, carrying with it the combined might and determination of a dozen liberated species. The Nalaxian Empire was about to face not just humanity's vengeance, but the consequences of centuries of oppression. And in the end, the galaxy would never be the same. The fall of an empire. The Nalaxian homeworld of Vexus Prime hung like a jewel in space, its 3 moons bristling with defensive installations. For millennia, no enemy had ever breached its orbital perimeter. But then again, no enemy had ever been quite like humanity and its coalition of liberated species. Admiral Montgomery stood at the command center of the massive space station, Nemesis, humanity's mobile headquarters for the final assault. Around her, representatives from 12 formerly enslaved species coordinated their forces. The Zardaxian battlecruisers moved into position alongside Earth's dreadnoughts. Avari healing ships stood ready to assist the wounded. Lithosian crystal ships formed an impenetrable defensive line. "All fleets report ready," Colonel Parker announced. "The nullifier networks are in position." "And our special package?" Rachel asked. "Dr. Winters confirms it's ready for deployment." In the science bay, Dr. Julia Winters made final adjustments to what they called Project Genesis, a technological masterpiece combining the knowledge of all allied species. "This isn't just about destroying their defenses," she explained to Ambassador Reese. "It's about making sure they can never rebuild their empire." Olivia studied the device, remembering Marcus's final words about showing the galaxy what humanity really was. "Begin the transmission," she ordered. Across every communication channel on every world that had ever known Nalaxian oppression, her message played. "People of the galaxy, today we end the Nalaxian Empire's reign of terror. Not through genocide. We are not them. We will show them, and everyone watching, a better way." Supreme Overlord Kraz watched the massive Allied fleet approach from his palace tower. "They can't possibly breach our defenses," he insisted, but his voice trembled. "We have technology they couldn't comprehend." High Executor Valen, who had witnessed humanity's capabilities firsthand, wasn't so sure. "My lord, perhaps we should consider their terms." "Never. We are the Nalaxian Empire. We do not surrender to lesser beings." The battle began with a display of force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Allied fleet didn't just attack, they rewrote the rules of space combat. Nullifiers disabled Nalaxian shields across entire sectors. Zardaxian plasma weapons melted through orbital platforms. Human kinetic bombardment shattered defensive lines with devastating precision. But it was Project Genesis that proved the true game-changer. As the device activated, every piece of Nalaxian military technology across the planet began to transform. Their weapons turned to dust. Their war machines collapsed. Centuries of military superiority evaporated in minutes. "What have you done?" Kraz demanded as his palace's defenses crumbled. The answer came as Ambassador Reese herself led the team that breached his throne room. "We didn't just study your technology," she explained, her voice cold but controlled. "We learned how to evolve it. Everything you built for war is being repurposed for peace. Your weapons are becoming medical equipment. Your war machines are transforming into terraforming devices. You can't do this. We are the supreme power in the galaxy." "Not anymore." Olivia activated a hologram showing the changes spreading across Vexus Prime. "Your people will live, but your empire is finished, and you will spend the rest of your life watching as everything you built for oppression serves to heal what you broke." The Nalaxian leadership was arrested not by human soldiers, but by their own people. Centuries of propaganda crumbled as the population witnessed their technology being transformed into tools of creation rather than destruction. The species they had enslaved were now offering them a chance at redemption. General Torres surveyed the aftermath from orbit. "Reports coming in from across Nalaxian space. Their military installations are all neutralized. Project Genesis worked perfectly." Admiral Montgomery nodded. "And the other worlds?" "The liberated species are already helping establish a new galactic council. Earth has been asked to lead it." In the ruins of the Imperial Palace, Olivia found a moment alone. She took out Marcus's locket one last time. "We did it, little brother. We showed them exactly what humanity is capable of. Not just destruction, but creation. Not just revenge, but justice." The galaxy had indeed watched a child die. But what they witnessed afterward wasn't just humanity's vengeance. It was humanity's vision for a better future. Earth had shown no mercy to the Empire's power structure, but they had shown something far more powerful to its people: the possibility of change. As the sun set on Vexus Prime, ships from dozens of worlds gathered for the formal establishment of the Galactic Concordat. Earth would lead not through fear as the Nalaxians had, but through innovation, cooperation, and an unwavering commitment to protecting the weak from the strong. In the end, the death of one child had not just brought down an empire, it had given birth to a new era in galactic history. And in conference rooms across the galaxy, diplomats added a new phrase to their lexicon: "Remember Marcus." It wasn't just a battle cry anymore. It was a promise that never again would the powerful be allowed to prey upon the innocent. A new dawn rises. 5 years after the fall of the Nalaxian Empire, Earth had transformed from a single isolated world into the heart of the Galactic Concordat. The orbital rings around the planet buzzed with ships from 100 different species. Where once humanity had looked to the stars in fear, now they led an alliance that spanned the galaxy. Ambassador Olivia Reese, now serving as the first High Chancellor of the Concordat, stood in the newly completed Memorial Garden on Mars. At its center, a holographic statue of Marcus shifted through scenes from his short life, ending with his final moment of defiance. Around it, gardens cultivated by different species created a living testament to unity born from tragedy. The Avari delegation has arrived, announced First Minister Jonathan Chen, formerly Captain Chen of the Earth Defense Force. They're bringing the last group of rehabilitated Nalaxian children. The rehabilitation program had been Olivia's first initiative as High Chancellor. While the adult Nalaxians faced justice for their crimes, she had insisted that their children be given a chance at a different life. "Any word from the frontier?" she asked. "Admiral Montgomery reports the last pocket of Imperial resistance has surrendered. The war is officially over." The Nalaxian species itself had undergone a remarkable transformation. Under the guidance of Earth and its allies, their society had been rebuilt from the ground up. Those who chose peace were welcomed into the Concordat, their technological knowledge now serving to advance all species rather than subjugate them. Dr. Julia Winters, heading the Concordat's Scientific Federation, had overseen the most ambitious project yet, the conversion of the former Imperial Palace on Vexus Prime into the galaxy's largest research institute. There, scientists from all species worked together, combining their knowledge in ways the Empire had never imagined possible. The latest breakthrough came from a collaboration between Nalaxian and Lithosian researchers, Julia reported during the Concordat's council meeting. They've found a way to restore ecosystems damaged by Imperial mining. The first test on the Zardaxian homeworld has already shown promising results. In Earth's military headquarters, now serving as the Concordat's Defense Command, General Torres reviewed reports with Admiral Montgomery. The former Earth Defense Force had evolved into the Concordat peacekeeping fleet, with ships staffed by mixed crews from all member species. "The last of the slave camps has been liberated," Rachel confirmed, "and the emergency response protocols you designed are working. 3 potential conflicts were resolved through meditation last month alone." "And the Memorial Initiative?" "Operating on every former Imperial world. No child in Concordat space will ever go unprotected again." The Memorial Initiative, named in Marcus's honor, had established a galaxy-wide network dedicated to protecting the rights and safety of children from all species. It was perhaps the most powerful legacy of humanity's response to that terrible broadcast 5 years ago. In orbit above Earth, the massive station Unity neared completion. Unlike the Nalaxians' weapons platforms, this station served as a cultural exchange center, a place where species could learn from each other, trade ideas, and build understanding. Colonel Parker, now serving as Unity's security chief, led Olivia through the station's grand observation deck. "The Zardaxian ambassador asked me something interesting today," he said. "He wanted to know if humans had planned this all along, becoming the galaxy's peacekeepers." Olivia watched ships from dozens of worlds dock at the station. "Tell him the truth, we never wanted power. We never wanted to rule. We just wanted a galaxy where no one had to fear losing their children to tyranny." The Galactic Concordat had proven more successful than anyone could have imagined. Former enemy species now worked together, solving problems that had plagued their civilizations for centuries. The Nalaxians' technology of control had been transformed into tools of creation. Their weapons had become the foundations of new medical facilities, research centers, and terraforming projects. On the 5th anniversary of the Empire's fall, representatives from every member species gathered at the Memorial Garden. Olivia stood before them, her hand touching the locket she still wore. 5 years ago, the galaxy watched as an empire killed a child to teach humanity a lesson about power. They thought they were showing strength. Instead, they revealed their greatest weakness, the belief that fear could ever be stronger than love, that cruelty could ever triumph over compassion. She gestured to the gathered audience where humans stood alongside former enemies and former slaves, all now equal partners in the Concordat. We showed them a different kind of strength. Not the power to destroy, but the power to transform. Not the ability to rule through fear, but the wisdom to lead through understanding. My brother died believing in humanity's potential to be better than our enemies. Today, we honor that belief not through hatred or vengeance, but through our commitment to ensuring no species ever again has to lose a child to tyranny. As the sun set on Mars, casting long shadows through the memorial garden, the hologram of Marcus smiled down at the gathered representatives of a united galaxy. The Empire had wanted to teach humanity its place in the cosmic order. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy a different lesson, that true power lies not in the ability to take life, but in the determination to protect it. The stars looked different now, not because humanity knew they weren't alone, but because they had transformed the very nature of what it meant to look up at them. Where once they had held terror and threats, now they promised opportunity and hope. The galaxy had watched a child die, and in response, humanity had given birth to something unprecedented, a future where strength served justice, where power protected innocence, and where the light of human compassion outshone the darkness of empire.